right, here we go. So Marvin, you want to introduce it?
Welcome to another reading of Lord MEHER. We are on page 2043 in the year 1939. We're on the blue bus tours right now, and we're picking it up from the bottom of the page. Betty, why don't you start us off?
All right. Baba took the women to the Mysore Zoo. This is actually bottom of page 242. Baba took the women to the Mysore Zoo, Vrindavan Gardens, and other places of interest. At Chamudi Hill, Baba pointed out the 7-storied temple, explaining that its 7 stories represent the 7 planes of consciousness. According to Baba's wish, the Diwan made arrangements so that at the time of Baba's visits with the women, no man was to be seen at those places. Sir Mirza gave his fullest cooperation in such matters and carried out Baba's wishes in all respects. Baba, however, was in such a hurry while visiting any spot that the women were not allowed to enjoy the outings. At one point, Memo asked irritably, "Mirog, if you don't wish us to see anything, why bother bringing us?" Next page. "To show you that all this is a dream and only I am the truth," Baba replied. "If it is all a dream," she said, "then why do you want to show it to us? Without first seeing it, how will you know it is a dream? I want to show it to you as a dream. But in spite of my telling you that it is a dream, you want to stick to the dream and get more entangled in it. That is why I prevent you from doing so." The highlight of their visit was the annual parade on Sunday, 22nd October, 1939, sponsored by the Maharaja of Mysore, who was a saintly person. Can you click the footnote, Eva? Lord MEHER, page 2443, footnote. The Maharaja of Mysore, Krishna Raja Wadiyar IV, was considered one of the most modern, forward-thinking Maharajas in India. Besides being a patron of the arts and science, a true philosopher king, he had a spiritual side also, hosting Upasani Maharaj, Yogananda, and the writer Paul Brunton, among others, as official state guests. The scholar Subramanya Iyer, who had met Baba in 1936, described Krishna Raja as a true renunciate at heart, though an active ruler in the world outside. Krishna Raja's father had financed Vivekananda's voyages to Europe and the United States in 1893. Once, when the Maharaja of Mysore was granted a private audience with Ramana Maharshi, he told the saint, "They made me a Maharaja and bound me to the throne. For the sin of being born a king, I lost the chance of sitting at your feet and serving in your glorious presence. Only these few minutes are mine. I can only pray for your grace." After the Maharaja left, Ramana Maharshi is reported to have remarked that he was a Janaka, a highly advanced soul. In Conscious Immortality, page 154. Janaka is mentioned in Hindu scriptures as a king who was also realized, such as Sita's father. Let's see. Separate arrangements were made for the Eastern women to view the parade from an enclosed balcony at the Unani Hospital. As Baba and the group were watching the parade at 4 p.m., Baba remarked, "The Maharaja of Mysore is very lucky. I am watching his parade, but he will not live to see the next Dasera." The king died 9 months later. Baba and the party returned to Bangalore on the 23rd at 6 p.m. Upon their return, Baba remarked, "I will now begin my work harder than I have ever done before." Then he added, perhaps by way of explanation, "The whole world will be involved in war." Baba had been visiting the Mandali at their quarters in the mornings and afternoons, but he then stopped coming in the morning. He had stopped his month-long fast on the 21st of October in Mysore. Carmen Masi arrived at this time with her son, Homi, Merwan, and Sarosh. Carmen Masi had been in Baba's contacts since the early 1920s, and her sons had been students at the MEHER ashram school. Following her husband Rustam Dinyar's death in 1938, Carmen Masi came to Bangalore, where Baba permitted her, Homi, and Merwan to rejoin the ashram. Sarosh was put in boarding school in Pune for a short time. Banu Masi and her sons, Dadi and Sam, left for Bombay after having stayed with Baba for a few months. Deshmukh and Indu arrived on 24th October 1939 and stayed with Adi Sr. 2 days later, Deshmukh left for Mysore with Padri, Hindu, and Chanji to arrange a public meeting there. Footnote, Eva? Let's see. Paul Brunton was in Mysore at the time and had a long talk with Deshmukh. Brunton expressed his regret at some of the things he had written about Baba in his book, A Search in Secret India, and stated that he had not found the love that he found in Baba in anyone else. Brunton remained in India until 1947. At end of footnote. On 27 October 1939, Baba revealed, "From November 11th, for 6 months, there will be chaos among my followers, with lots of ups and downs, illnesses and doubts, even among the staunchest of them." Somebody else want to take over?
I can read next.
Go ahead, Eva, pick it up.
All right. Page 2044. I have had to get myself bound by time to free those who are bound by time. I myself will have to do something to create opposition. Adi Sr., Sarosh, and Manu Barucha arrived on the night of the 28th from Nasik with Franey. Franey proved uncooperative in Bangalore, so the 3 men returned to Nasik with her on the 31st. Baba had instructed Margaret Krask and Delia de Leon to come to India from England if war broke out. Both went to the Home Office in London to get permission to leave the country, but were told that unless they had urgent business abroad or special reasons for going, permission would not be granted. When Delia applied, she was refused permission. Margaret, however, was given a permit to leave because she had been acting as the guardian for Falu Irani, Rustum and Franey's son, who was studying in England. She had told the officials the boy could not travel alone. The officials thought Falu was a Maharaja's son by the way Margaret was carrying on. So the 2 of them were able to sail from England on the city of Marseille, escorted by a convoy of ships, and land in Colombo on the 30th of October. They were met by Swamji and arrived on Bangalore on 1 November 1939, where Margaret began living with Baba at the Links. Falu stayed with his uncle, Adi Sr., in his separate bungalow. Margaret later speculated, perhaps because of the war, Baba had to have a link to England of someone coming to India. Meanwhile, Delia became terribly upset, as she too naturally wanted to join Baba in India. Baba cabled her, "Not to worry, you are where I want you to be." At the time, Delia had no idea that her brother-in-law had cabled Baba behind her back, saying Delia's mother needed her to look after her there in England. From the links, Baba further wrote Delia, "You speak truly and from deep experience when you say you can only learn through suffering and experience. Do you know these lines of Hafiz? He who would tread my path, the thorn of grief will find. What pilgrim hath in fear of this his request resigned? Thou knowest well, he who attains true perfect love is he upon whose soul grief as a lamp had shined. It is the ego which has this temporary suffering, but this suffering is also the means to eternal happiness and bliss. Believe me when I say that the real happiness which lies in store for you is well worth the present suffering and struggle. The greater the capacity to love, the greater the pangs of separation are felt, not only by those living physically apart from the beloved, but equally by those living near. In fact, the feeling of separation is greatly intensified when living close physically, while not having the conscious experience of union and oneness. The curtain I purposely drew hides this experience to enable you to do my work. You know the work I do is all for my circle, but each of you, to play your part, must take it seriously and to finish the work each came to do. Love, work, and obey me. My work at present is heavy. Apart from the universal work for the upliftment of all, I have the work of the center, which entails much work and time. I supervise personally every detail, although allotting to each person that particular side of the work to which each is suited. The center is to be on a very large scale, consisting of many different sections, but all under my one guidance. On Thursday, 2 November 1939, the center's publicity committee held an open meeting in Mysore to inform the public about Baba's work and to invite them to the foundation laying ceremony in December. Norina, Deshmukh, Jal Kirawala, and Ghani spoke at the gathering. A second gathering was held on the evening of the 6th in the Bangalore Town Hall. Deshmukh, Ghani, and Norina, along with Nadine Tolstoy, gave lectures. Before the meeting, Baba remarked to Deshmukh, "I won't let it be a total success. I'll make sure there is 50% opposition and 50% sympathy." A third meeting was held at the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore on 9 November. The Nobel Prize winning Indian physicist, Dr. C.V. Raman, chaired the gathering. Deshmukh gave a stirring speech on the question of science versus spirituality. Norina and Nadine then spoke about their experiences of being with Meher Baba. Deshmukh had been so logical and convincing, and Norina and Nadine so sincere, that Rahman was impressed with the depth of their feelings in spite of himself. Afterwards, in his remarks, Rahman observed, "I have never been a believer in personalities as such, although I have read the life of Buddha, Christ, etc., and have great respect and reverence for them. Yet, when I visited the ruins of Benares and other places of pilgrimage, I could not help but allow the atmosphere of those places to touch and inspire me. It is certainly a strange experience, since the sages have lived thousands of years in the past, and yet their influence still pervaded the atmosphere of those places where they had lived. This experience is not a matter to be expressed by words, but it is a matter of feeling. If only the ruins create such feelings after centuries, then certainly spirituality is a matter of feeling and not of intellect." Although he disagreed with Deshmukh at the beginning, C.V. Raman concluded that after hearing his talk, he agreed with him entirely, stating, "This was not only because of the logic of Dr. Deshmukh's arguments, but primarily because of his great sincerity and faith with which he expressed and clung to his views. Although the teachings of all prophets are identical, they are very difficult to follow. A teacher is always greater than his teachings, and the influence he yields over humanity is due to his being a living example of these teachings. People will be able to estimate the value of Sri Meher Baba through his personal contact." During this period, Arnavaz and Nargis Dadachandji had been staying in Bangalore with the other women for some time. Baba had asked Nargis not to do anything but rest while she was there. Nargis wanted to do his personal work, and Baba's instruction pained her. At the time, Nargis did not understand that obedience to the master is the highest type of service. On Sunday, 5 November 1939, Nargis moved her iron cot a little while rearranging her room. This upset Baba. She wondered why Baba was preventing her from even slightly exerting herself. 2 days later, she had a heart attack, and then she knew why Baba had not allowed her to do any physical labor. She was treated by one of the doctors, and Baba himself was attentive to her. Nargis began thinking that instead of her serving Baba, he was serving her. "It is my misfortune that my beloved is serving me," she thought. When she was better, Baba advised her, "Go to Bombay and take treatment from Dr. Koiyar, the heart specialist." "But his charges are very high," she pointed out. "Don't worry, I will see to it," Baba promised. And next reader. Can we have another reader?
Marcia, would you like to read?
Okay. Leaving the ashram was against Nargis' cherished hopes of serving Baba, and she professed, "I won't allow it. I want to serve you, not to be a burden to you." Baba explained, Continue doing as I tell you. By not obeying me, you are a burden to me. When I have to explain things to you, that is a headache to me. When you don't want anything from me, why worry? Nargis returned to Bombay with Arnavaz and placed herself under Dr. Koyar's care. Although his treatment was expensive, he did not take any fee from her. This amazed Nargis and made her love for Baba even stronger. Adi Jr. arrived in Bangalore on the evening of the 4th. Naroji Naraman had Sarosh had arrived 4 days later. Gohir also spent several weeks at the links. Kakabaria returned on the 10th and began doing night watch near Baba. On the 11th, Padre and Sarosh left by the morning train for Mysore. Naroji and Naraman accompanied them and returned to Bombay 3 days later. Masaji, who had been sent to Bombay, returned on the 12th. Desmukh also left for Madras and then Nagpur on the 11th. Before he left, Baba met him at Adi's senior's bungalow, along with Dali and Falu. On the 11th evening at 5 p.m., Baba had a meeting at the men's quarter. In a light-hearted mood, he suggested each of them write down their preferences for amusements. Don jokingly wrote marbles, and so Baba made him secretary of the Marbles Club. Baba was its president, Ghani, Kaka, and Pendu its members. Nailu wrote down sweets on Mondays, and Baba said he should be given 1 spoonful of sugar every Monday. Datu Mahandarj, who had come to stay in Bangalore to help in the office and journal work, asked to be allowed to see a good picture film once in a while, and so Baba gave him a book filled with pictures of saints to look at. Baba was not meeting the public in Bangalore, but at 3:30 p.m. on Sunday, 12th November 1939, he made an exception. He granted a few minutes of darshan to 3 accomplished young men, a Western author, an art critic named Francis Watson, 32, an Indian science student, Vikram Sarabhai, 20, who was studying at Cambridge, and another Indian, Kittu Purna, a former student at Oxford. Baba told them to come back after a month when he would answer any questions they had. Watson had an interest.
Wait, we have a footnote.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Lord Mayor Baba, page 2047, footnote. Francis Watson was a curator of the prestigious Wallace Collection in London and later became its director. Vikram Sarabhai later worked with C.V. Raman and is considered the father of the Indian space program. Kittu Purna was a close friend of the Indian novelist R.K. Narayan and has been instrumental in getting Narayan's work published in England through the British novelist Graham Greene. Close. Okay. Okay. Baba was not meeting the public in Bangalore, but at 3:30 p.m.
We already did that one. Next.
Watson had an interest in spirituality and later met Ramana Maharishi. It is not known whether Watson or the others returned for a second meeting with Meher Baba, but in a letter to his mother after visiting the links, Watson wrote, "This afternoon I met another of the strange collection of spiritual leaders described in Ram Lando's book, God is My Adventure. He is Shri Meher Baba, whom Ram Lando is not very kind about. But I must say, though it was a brief interview, I rather took to him sufficiently, at all events, to want to meet him again after December 18th, when he has promised to answer any questions I may have for him. Between now and then, he is going into strict seclusion, and indeed it was a considerable concession for him to meet him today." On November, footnote. Letter to Francis Watson's mother, 12 November 1939, courtesy British Library. Okay. On 13th November 1939, Baba began an 11-day fast. During this period, he instructed 4 of the women and 3 of the men to fast with him for 1 day each. On the 15th, he commented, "If during the 11 days of my fast, war does not start in real earnest, or if peace is not definitely considered, and if the present lull continues, then I will continue the fast indefinitely. Otherwise, I will stop fasting on the 12th day." Baba added, "The real war has started from November 11th. On the 15th, he instructed the Mandalay to begin making bandages for those wounded in battle as a part of the war effort. 2 days later, on 17 November, Baba stopped fasting. Okay. After Margaret's arrival, Baba proposed that she start a dance school in Bangalore, which would also provide an income to support Baba's work. Adi Sr. and Don were tasked with typing up a proposal for the school and scouting out possible locations. One was selected, and Baba took Margaret there to show her. But after that, the idea was dropped and was never raised again. Don's birthday was celebrated with cakes at tea time on the 14th, and the Al Yangar family visited Baba on the 17th. Baba made further remarks about the war on 19 November. Hitler, he said, is a brave man, a great patriot, and has done wonderful service to his country. But as a human being, he is no good, cruel, hopeless. His treatment of the Jews is most heartless. Will there be war or peace, he was asked. War, Baba replied. If, however, they make peace, it won't be lasting. There will be internal wars everywhere, civil wars, economic wars, etc., which would be worse than war on the battlefield. India will also have to suffer. I'm good. If anyone else wants to read.
Okay, I'll pick it up from here. During this period, Minta Toledano, like her sister Delia, was facing personal difficulties in England. On 20 November 1939, Baba finally replied to her letters. If I want my Shalimar to write me, then I must keep her a long time waiting for a letter in return. By ignoring her last 2 letters, I received from her a third, the one I was waiting for, full of complaints at the silence, indifference, and callousness of her beloved, who did not care that she was miserable, lonely, and unhappy. And so, not knowing what to do or where to turn in her despair, she vented her impatience, anger, resentment, and annoyance at the one who was the cause of it all. Darling Shalimar, through every line run those deep pangs of suffering caused through separation. Everyone feels at one time or another what you now experience. Remember, darkness must precede the dawn, and be glad you are not outside of these experiences. These changes of heat and cold, light and darkness, response and indifference. The real and only tragedy of human life is when the individual is irresponsive and untouched by life's experiences. What had your favorite Hafiz to say? O patient, O heart, and grieve not, for in the end, after evening cometh the morn, after night the dawn. I can, in the space of a moment, give you the experience of that union you so crave, but that is not my way. Baba then quoted the couplets from Hafiz sent to Delia previously about pilgrims on this path, finding only the thorn of grief. There is no escape, whether you live physically near the beloved, as I wanted you to do, or you live away, as you have chosen to do. Struggle and crisis there will always be, and choice. One day you will realize I offered you everything from the very first. You could have stayed near your beloved. You could have gazed on your beloved. You could have consoled and comforted your beloved in his moments of weakness and fatigue, as you so often did. You could have been gay, cheerful, and happy with your beloved. You could have loved, worked for, and obeyed him, living near him, or loved, worked for, and obeyed him from afar. But none of these things did my lover choose. What can I suggest? It is not now your turn to offer me what you have to give. Is it not now your turn to offer me what I have to give? What you have to give? Your will be as your heart, your faith. I know is absolute and nothing can shake it. But your ego wants satisfaction and does not want to be crushed. This stands in the way of selfless love, the only love that will satisfy your beloved or give you eternal happiness. Yet no, darling Shalimar, nothing of yourself is real or lasting, save that part of it which is me. The express image of the word divine am I. The mirror of all regal loveliness am I. Without me in this world, naught of itself exists. Search where you will surely find all, as is I. Footnote says, all couplets in the letters to Delia and Minter are from Hafez. Although there is no attribute given, they appear to have been taken from selections from the Rubaiyat and Odes of Hafez, the great mystic and lyric poet of Persia, edited by the Persian Society of London, 1920. And 3 days before, on the 17th of November, Baba had sent this message to Will and Mary Beckett in England. Keep writing as you do now, and don't worry. I am with you always, and am ever watchful over my own flock. In November 1939, Baba directed Kaka and Erich to travel through the south of India in search of advanced musts to bring to Bangalore. They were instructed to do whatever necessary to please the musts and thus coax them to come away with them, except disclosing that Meher Baba had sent them. Erich and Kaka had left on the night of the 12th of November, accompanied by Jal Karawala, and they were gone for 11 days. It was monsoon season, and they had to travel through many flooded areas. Although they contacted several advanced musts, they failed to persuade even one to come back to Bangalore. In view of their failure, and as Baba remarked, in order to start the war or make peace, he decided to go and contact these musts himself. Meanwhile, Baba had been dictating his will. Before leaving Bangalore, Baba, for the first time, signed his last will and testament on 25th November. The various men and women Mandali were named as beneficiaries, and the properties at Meherabad, Mandla, and now Bairam Mangala were appointed as he wished. Early the next morning, Sunday, 26 November, Baba left Bangalore by train toward the south of India, traveling third class. He was accompanied by Erich, Ustaji, Kaka, Jal Karawala, and the boy Krishna. We have a footnote about Krishna, probably. Well, Margaret and Falu had missed the trip to Mysore in October. So while Baba was away, Pender drove them and a few of the Mandali to Mysore in the blue bus for a brief visit. Baba had tea ordered at the next station, and in a pleasant mood remarked to Jal, traveling with me is full of both joy and hardships. Joy in the sense that you have the privilege of my company and are able to enjoy the benefits of my satsang, explanations, etc. Hardship in the sense that there is plenty of work to be done, and I am a hard taskmaster when it comes to locating and contacting the different musts. They arrived at Trichinopoly at 10 p.m. and settled into a hotel for the night. The next morning, the group set out with Baba in a taxi to contact the must, Yusuf Mastan. Baba waited in the car while the man went inside the Mohammedan inn where the must was sitting to ask him to accompany them back to their hotel where Baba could bathe and feed him. The must agreed and returned to the hotel with Baba. Yusuf was very happy and allowed Baba to wash and feed him. They asked the must to come back to Bangalore with them, and to this he also agreed. Baba said that they would take him with them on their way back. The Mandli took Yusuf back to his hotel while Baba waited with Krishna. When they returned, Baba informed them that his work in Trichinopoly was finished and they must leave for the town of Negapatinam. Thus they left by taxi at 4 p.m. And because of all their bedding and suitcases, they were very cramped during the journey, which took 11 hours to drive just 80 miles. There had been heavy rains the previous week, so several times they had to get out of the car and walk over damaged bridges. In the evening, the taxi had a flat tire. While it was being fixed, they took the opportunity of the delay to have their dinner and talk pleasantly with Baba while seated under a tree. Despite the inconveniences and hardships, Baba was in a splendid mood. Sitting with him under a full moon, surrounded by lush green rice fields, left a lasting impression. Driving through the night, they arrived in Negapatinan at 3 a.m. on the 28th and went straight to the railway station where they all slept on the platform. Kaka was sent to bring Moti Baba, a high must of the 6th plane, to a hotel. The must arrived, but becoming restless, he left before Baba had a chance to bathe him, saying he would come back later. Jal brought the must back to Baba in the evening, and Baba proceeded to bathe and feed him. Footnote: when Erich, Kaka, and Jal had contacted Moti Baba on their earlier trip, he was not home, and they had to wait for him to return. When he did so, they asked if he would come to Bangalore with them, and without their having mentioned Baba's name, the must replied, "I have just been on foot to Meher Baba, and I'm returning from there," which was more than 250 miles one way. "So I am tired. You can go now." After Moti Baba left the next morning, Baba and the men went by car toward a nearby village in search of one of the greatest musts in India, the 6-plane saint, Chati Baba. They had gone 6 miles from the city when Baba suddenly asked that the car be stopped. Baba indicated that Chati Baba was sitting by the side of the road and that they had just passed him. Kaka, who had seen Chati Baba on his previous trip, said that it was too early for him to have left his village and come so far. But when they got out of the car, they discovered that it was indeed the great must. As they approached him, Chati Baba rose from the ground and silently looked at Baba, while the Mandali came near and began talking to him. Baba stood quietly at a distance. Although the must's body was literally covered with dirt and sand, his face was radiant, full of love and kindness. Chati Baba spoke only Tamil, so Krishna was the only one who could communicate with him. Baba directed Krishna to ask the must to accompany them to Bangalore. Chati Baba commented, "Where is he and where am I? He is the highest of the high. How can you compare me with him?" Krishna related this to Baba, who indicated, "That is a different matter. Just ask him if he is willing to come with me." The must agreed, and they took him to the car, where he sat next to Baba. Along with Chati Baba, all left Nagapatinam at 5 p.m. for Tanjore, arriving 4 hours later. Chati Baba was offered food by Baba and took a little. 2 of the Mandali stayed with him during the night. Most of the time he would sit on the ground and move his finger on the earth or floor as if writing. The next morning, 29 November 1939, as Baba was to contact another must in Tanjore, Jal Karawala took Chati Baba out of the hotel, intending to take him to a public garden. But instead of waiting for the taxi, Chati Baba began walking down the street into the city. Baba was informed and came in a taxi to tell Jal not to interfere with Chati Baba, but to follow him. Kaka was told to go with Jal. After walking 4 hours through the city and several miles into the remote countryside, Chati Baba finally agreed to return to the hotel with Jal and Kaka in a taxi. Okay, maybe we can have another reader. Eugene, would you like to take over?
At the hotel, however, the must refused to go upstairs and had lunch in the hotel garden, after which he began acting strangely, collecting sand and throwing it on himself for half an hour. As soon as Baba returned from his other must work, he was told about Chati Baba's restlessness. Baba promptly began bathing him, pouring buckets and buckets of water over him. And Chati Baba's uneasiness finally went away after 50 buckets. Baba later explained that Chati Baba was spiritually connected with France in a similar manner to Muhammad Must's connection with Germany. As the war in Europe progressed, Chati Baba's mood would be affected. Baba had gone in the morning to contact a sixth plane Gauss type must named Abdul Qadir Jilani. There was a perfect master of the same name whose tomb in Baghdad Baba had visited in 1936. Abdul Qadir Jilani. In the afternoon, Kaka was sent to bring this must back to the hotel. When Erich, Kaka, and Jal had contacted Abdul Qadir before on their first visit, they were forced to reveal that they had been sent by Meher Baba. Hearing Baba's name, the must got up, folded his hands, and repeated Baba's name 2 or 3 times, passed his hands over his face, and then kissed his own hands. And the 3 men, in a very affectionate manner, leaving Tanjore that evening, Baba and the Mandali arrived in Trichinopoly at midnight. Taking Chati Baba with them, Erich, Gustaji, and Krishna continued on the train to the next station, where they were to wait for Baba. Baba, Kaka, and Jal got down at Trichinopoly to again contact Yusuf Mastan and bring him also to Bangalore. They spent the night at the same hotel where they had stayed previously and left the next morning along with the must. Meeting the others at the next station, Baba gave Chati Baba a bath on the way to Bangalore, where they arrived on the morning of 1 December. Krishna was assigned to look after Chati Baba because, as mentioned, he spoke Tamil, the must's native tongue. And if we scroll, I think there's a picture Baba bathing Chati Baba. After Deshmukh and Narina's public meetings in Mysore and Bangalore at the beginning of November, a local attorney named Sampij or Sampige probably. Venkatapalya began to stir up heated opposition to Baba's plan of settling in the area. Venkatapalya, 55, was a founding member of the Hindu Mahasabha, a right-wing Hindu nationalist political party. He went to almost any length in trying to thwart the center plan and turn public opinion against Baba. For example, during the first week of December 1939, Venkatapalya issued this outrageous statement to the press. For all the hysterical tom-tom about Sri Meher Baba by his coterie of devotees, disciples, admirers, and friends who try to bluff, bluster, bravado, and browbeating, who try bluff, bluster, bravado, and browbeating, there is unimpeachable documentary evidence of a most intimate character which denounces him as a swindler, cheat, and charlatan. Meher Baba stands condemned as a despicable wretch, not fit for any decent-minded man or woman to associate with. He is a fraud on humanity, a dangerous devil. On Saturday, 9 December, while discussing the opposition, Jal Karawala asked Baba why he did not come out and crush this slanderous antagonism. Baba gave this reply: "But they have not yet reached the point of crucifying me. This is nothing compared to what I want. Be prepared for that. This is only the beginning, mere child's play. I warned you some time ago to be prepared for opposition on a much more serious and larger scale than this." Ghani asked, "Why don't you turn your key?" "This is my key. Otherwise, what could these ignorant people do? It is not their fault. They harp on the same old issues with the same old stories repeated over and over again from John Bull, a British publication, K.J. Dastur's Message, and The Graphic, an Indian magazine, all too childish for words. Up till now, I did not mind and did not allow public replies. But now it is necessary for the world to know, since we are establishing an important center here. That work should not suffer. So reply to them, but in a dignified manner, coolly, calmly, but convincingly. Things were rather too slow, rather dead and dull for the work. You had no enthusiasm. So to stir it all up, this opposition has come. Let us welcome and utilize it for my work. Don't make it personal and get mad at individuals. State facts and smash their silly talks and arguments. I work internally in my own way. You work externally, keeping yourselves in touch with people, facing situations courageously but calmly, befitting the spirit of our work of love, and winning over your opponents with arguments and facts lovingly, rather than becoming excited using harsh words and creating hatred. This is your test. Be true to it. Prove yourselves worthy of the title of disciples, and I will help you. This will bring pep into the work and arouse your enthusiasm and interest. The game will be lively. The whole world is fighting for one thing or the other, and you too join in the game to fight, not for selfish motives or gains, but for the truth. Be afraid of nothing, not even the results. Be a soldier in a battle, fighting for your sacred cause of spirituality and truth, never thinking, much less worrying about the results. The results are mine. I know my work and design plans according to situations. You are merely to follow instructions and carry on the campaign. Disciples as soldiers in the battle for truth and spirituality. Continuing on the same topic, Baba commented, "It is a pity that people in their excitement or enthusiasm do not realize what they are doing and spoil their own cause. The very thing for which they ought to be proud and happy is misunderstood and taken for misfortune. There is a hue and cry raised over things that have no substantial bearing or ground at all. Petty points and questions are raised, and so much valuable time and energy are wasted over such trivial matters, which could be so well utilized for better purposes, benefiting themselves and others. Jealousy is a great weakness. It binds or obscures the vision to truth and facts. It drives one to a frenzy and makes one engage in flimsy arguments. Meaningless talks are freely indulged in, which bring nothing but shame and misery in their wake, before they realize what harm they have done in their weakness. Truth can never be blurred or clouded by the hue and cry, however great. It shines in its own light. Clouds come and go, casting shadows and a temporary gloom. The sun is never disturbed, much less perturbed or affected by the clouds. So is truth never clouded by fallacious or false propaganda. Trying to throw dust at the sun blinds the person himself, not the sun. But there are few who understand these simple truths. The majority are misguided and ruled by some self-styled leaders who seek the limelight by fair means or foul. They don't want the truth for their own selfish ends, lest they be lost and out of the picture. So, to be in the public eye, they invent lies, concoct stories, distort facts, and in the name of public service, they present these lies before the public. The public is misled either by their big names or by the tricks of the originators, who form the ability to misrepresent facts with sensational talks that influence the weakness of the mass mind. It is the same all over the world, a game of winning and losing, the inevitable struggle for existence in all departments and aspects of life, religion, politics, morality, ethics, industry, business, etc., at times and places in different ways according to the conditions.
Okay, thank you, Jean. Marilyn, would you like to read?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Blue bus tours. Laughing, Baba spelled out, "So it is for Mayor Baba, too. You have been observing over the past many years that despite this hostile agitation against me, my work goes on spreading. You have watched with mixed feelings of pity and regret for those who do not understand, nor do they want to listen to the facts and thereby bring themselves in for ridicule. How can my work ever be affected by this lying campaign through the press and before the public? All this you and cry against me. All this has brought my name and work into greater prominence by arousing the idle curiosity of people with silly rumors and sensationalism. Those who come to ridicule me return penitent after seeing me and gathering the true facts. My work begun from Pune and Ahmednagar and covering Bombay, Madras, South India, and North India, has now reached the West. It spread to England first, and from there has extended through Europe to America and the whole world. Is this in itself not proof? Up to now, I have often been working in seclusion. Still, day by day, the number of my followers increases. I do not see the public and also do not meet those who outwardly make a show of seeing me. And yet, how unique it is that those who could live in palaces in all comforts do a sweeper's work by staying with me. Therefore, there is none so blind as those who do not see, though having eyes. Footnote. Baba meant those who meet him but do not recognize him. You are my soldiers, and to destroy yourself, your ego, you have to fight for me. While fighting in my arena, remember that you are dealing blows to your ego. Meanwhile, Venkatapathaya began corresponding with Colonel Irani and others opposed to Baba. He held his own public meeting on 10 December 1939 for the said purpose to examine the credentials of Sri Meher Baba and to protect against the establishment of the Meher Baba Universal Spiritual Center at Bairamangala. Jal Karawala, Ghani, Deshmukh, and Narina had published a small booklet titled Meher Baba's Raj, Reign, in parentheses, of Truth, Meher Baba's Raj of Truth, which attempted to allay the public's fears about Meher Baba and to answer some of the opposition's criticism. With Baba's consent, they attended Venkatapathiya's meeting and tried to distribute the booklet. Baba visited the site of his proposed center on the 7th as the work for the foundation laying ceremony began. Pendu, Padri, Kalamama, Naroji, Adi Sr., and Vishnu were busy arranging the affair. A large pavilion was erected. Invitations were printed and mailed out, and announcements given in all major newspapers inviting the public to attend. On Sunday, 17 December 1939, the foundation laying ceremony for Meher Baba's Universal Center was held. Besides the general public, Baba lovers from Bombay, Pune, Nasik, and Ahmednagar attended. 40 buses were hired to carry them from Bangalore. About 4,000 persons participated, including Sir Mirza, the Dewan of Mysore, and other important government officials. Baba came in Elizabeth's car with Kaka, Jal Karawala. Whoops, hold on. Something just, Narina and Nadine. He was dressed in a sadra and a brick red coat. The program began at 4:30 p.m. when the head of the reception committee, Papa Jesawala, garlanded Baba on his arrival. In the master's honor, Syed Rasul Arif recited a poem in Urdu, and Sampath Iyengar delivered a speech. Ghani then explained the significance of 7-metal spade, which Baba would use to break the ground. Footnote: the 7 metals used to forge the shovel at a local worship were silver, pewter, a combination of copper and tin, aluminum, zinc, copper, lead, and iron. Okay. Baba proceeded to break the ground and lay the foundation. Sitting on a special stone seat, which was to be kept as a cornerstone of the future building, Baba rose and scooped a little earth with the special shovel as acclamations in his praise rent the air. Baba struck the earth 7 times and sat back on his special seat. The following message from him was then read out by Iyengar. The world is at war today. It has engulfed all departments of life, political, economic, social, and religious. The instinct of self-preservation, enhanced by fear and uncertainty of the future, is aggressively active in the guise of various pseudonyms and catchwords. Exclusiveness is parading as nationalism. Self-interest is known as economics. Fanaticism is synonymous with religion. Libertinism is looked up as social and moral freedom, and exploitation is termed politics. This instinct of self-preservation is legitimate and natural in the lower order of life, in the lower scale of evolution. But when it expresses itself through man, it makes of himself nothing more than an animal, nothing more than a talking animal. And as such, he is yet a long way from deserving the title, the best of creation. Is it anybody's fault if one finds oneself on the right side of things or the wrong side of things? No. Every human being has come to serve and achieve a definite purpose. And by playing his part to perfection, he automatically works out his own salvation.
Thank you, Marilyn. Mahu, would you like to pick it up here?
Yes, thank you. So this is page 2058 in year 1939. There is this difference, however. In the divine scheme of things, individuals or a people who, when instead of progressing higher and onward, are about to lapse into bestiality, it is suffering that rehabilitates them. It is suffering that rehabilitates them. The spiritual masters achieve for humanity the same resurrection much more easily and less painfully by not only preaching but translating into fulfillment the two familiar words, self-denial and brotherhood of man, whose very beginning and whose ultimate end is love. The time for such a universal awakening is looming large in the near future, to meet which the scheme of a universal spiritual center is founded today. The princely state of Mysore will surely realize at no distant date in the future its singular good fortune in possessing among many progressive features the spiritual capital of the world as well. I bless every one of you, participants and non-participants, in the greatest scheme of spiritual regeneration the world has never known and the foundation of which you have witnessed today. The scheme of Universal Spiritual Center symbolizes the character of my divine mission on earth. I bless you. Speeches were then delivered by Lakshmi Iyengar and M. Chakravarthi Linagar. The program terminated amid loud cheers of Baba's Jai. As Baba left, fireworks lit the evening sky. Fireworks lit the evening sky. Age marveled at the spectacle. The groundbreaking function afforded thousands of people the opportunity of having Meher Baba's darshan. Through the outward medium of this occasion, Baba sowed the seed of love in the hearts of many Mysoreans, which with the passing of time will grow into saplings and subsequently blossom into flowers and bear fruit. And there's the photos of Baba in Bairamangala, which is dedication ceremony on 17 December 1939. There's 4 pictures. Baba is officiating, looks like. Meanwhile, as this ceremony was taking place, the attorney Venkatapataya, who was trying to raise mass opposition against Baba, hired a Morris automobile and filled it with leaflets denouncing Meher Baba, which he intended to distribute at Berimangala. But as the vehicle was on its way to the function at 6:15 p.m., it hit a bullock cart carrying firewood and overturned in a ditch, strewing the anti-Meher Baba literature all over the road. Padri happened to drive past at the time and took a photograph of the scene. God's hand, perhaps, was behind the unfortunate accident, quote-unquote accident. A committee had been formed, including a few of the Western women and some of the Mandali, to oversee the construction of the center. Next page. Yeah, that's better. Now, Raji Dadachanji, being a contractor, had arrived from Bombay on the 1st of December to supervise the day-to-day building work. He had been staying in Bangalore, but now he, Padri, and Murli, who were helping him, began living at Barimangala. Masaji was cooking for them, there, and Pendu was also assisting in the project. They would come to Bangalore on Sundays to meet Baba and receive his instructions. Baba first ordered 2 structures to be built on the property, and on Tuesday, 19 December 1939, the work began. Before the ceremony in Baramangala, Baba was not meeting the public and was keeping himself secluded, engaging in masked work. Very few outsiders had been allowed to come for his darshan, but as a result of all the recent publicity for and against, people became more and more interested to see him. So Baba graciously set specific times to see new people every day at the links. From the 18th, he began giving darshan and interviews each morning from 8 to 9 o'clock and from 3 to 4 in the afternoon. On Friday, 22nd December, while discussing the trend of recent events, Baba observed, in the matter of spirituality and sincere reach for the truth, the mentality of the West seems better nowadays than that in India. Indian people's attitude and mentality these days is very peculiar. India as a whole now wants material powers, political awakening, and wealth. Yet, remember, it is India more than anywhere else that produces mosques. But on the whole, the situation here is deplorable. As far as the path is concerned, India's spiritual faith cannot be questioned, but the intellectual gymnastics by its scholars are disgusting. In the future, you will see. When people began coming to Baba's darshan, they naturally asked questions about the war. After a few days, Baba told Ghani, quote, "You should write down all my statements about the war and have them printed and distributed." Smiling, Ghani remarked, "What effect will a booklet have? It doesn't look proper to publish and distribute booklets when you are the avatar." Baba replied, "If the avatar has to resort to distributing leaflets, it shows the shocking condition people have come to. Yet, I have to do it. It is the preliminary preparation. This is the beginning. I am preparing the ground. You are fools. This war was preceded by correspondence. Meetings were held. Thereafter, there were protests and opposition. Then when the war started and all these were of no avail, the bombs came." So these explanations of mine about the war are a sort of communication to give the public a chance to listen and improve. If they won't, then there will be spiritual bumps. Don't you know me after so many years of contact? One who does not care for the world and publicly declares in America, quote, "I will come here and speak," and does not, don't you understand him yet? I don't care what the world will think or say. I will do anything for the sake of my work. Even if the whole world goes against me, I will do what I have to do, but all in its time. I will teach and strike both. But India nowadays is sadly lacking in spirituality by indulging in too much politics and Maya. The old spiritual glory is gone. It is sad, yet it is a fact.
Okay, let's stop the reading here. Thank you, Mahu. We got a few minutes left. Let's make a note where we'll pick up next time. Page 2060.
2060, yep.
Okay, so have we ended the recording yet?